The evening air was brisk, a slight chill whispering through the streets of the city as Natalie and I strolled toward our favorite Italian restaurant. It was a place where the dim lights flickered like distant stars and the aroma of fresh basil and garlic serenaded the senses. The occasion was my birthday, a day she had enveloped in mystery and allure with secretive smiles and whispered promises of a night to remember. As we settled into our seats, a soft melody from a violin greeted us, the bow dancing gracefully over the strings in the hands of an artist ensconced in the corner of the room. Natalie's eyes sparkled under the ambient lighting, her laughter mingling beautifully with the clink of our wine glasses. To us, she toasted, her voice a melody itself, velvety and warm. The night unfolded like a carefully crafted sonata, each course of the meal a movement, each sip of wine a harmonious note. Our conversation meandered through memories, dreams, and quiet confessions, drawing us closer in a cocoon of shared solitude amidst the buzz of other diners. It was late when we finally decided to leave, the streets now draped in the velvet of a night deepened by the absence of the moon. As I unlocked the car and we slipped inside, the warmth from the heater embraced us, warding off the evening's growing chill. The drive started smoothly, with the soft purr of the engine setting a calming backdrop as we continued our earlier conversation, laughter spilling into the space between us. But then, a subtle shift, a pair of headlights that seemed too intent, too focused, appeared in the rearview mirror. At first, I dismissed it as late-night traffic, but the car lingered, a persistent shadow that traced every turn and stop. Natalie hadn't noticed, her attention captured by a story she was recounting with animated gestures. My heart began to race as the car not only remained but seemed to edge closer, its presence an unspoken threat. I tried to keep my voice steady, to mask the rising anxiety as I made a few unnecessary turns in an attempt to lose our follower. But the car adapted, its movements too synchronized with ours to be coincidental. "Is everything okay?" Natalie finally asked, her voice laced with concern as she followed my gaze to the mirror. "Just thought I saw someone I knew," I lied, not wanting to alarm her, but the next moment shattered any pretense of normalcy. The sports car surged forward, crashing into us with a jolt that sent a shockwave through the vehicle and our bodies. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, as I fought for control. After managing to pull over, I stormed out of the car, fury and adrenaline fueling my steps. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted at the shadow emerging from the other vehicle. The man was quick, his movements fueled by an anger matching my own. He slammed into me with a well-aimed punch to the stomach, knocking the wind out of me, followed by relentless strikes to my face. Through blurred vision and gritted teeth, I managed to gather my strength and retaliate, sending him sprawling onto the cold asphalt. "Buddy, what the hell are you doing anyway?" I yelled, my breath heavy, my body a map of pain and fury. He spat out blood, his voice ragged. "She's my wife, you bastard." "Natalie's my wife." The word struck harder than his punches. Natalie, my Natalie, had been someone else's all along. The revelation was a blade twisting deep in my chest. I staggered back, the world tilting as the man continued, his voice a venomous whisper revealing their long, hidden affair and her recent decision that severed their ties. Betrayal seared through me, igniting a dark, vengeful fire. The night ended with sirens and flashing lights, but the true chaos had only just begun. As I vowed to unravel the life we had built, a life based on lies, I knew one thing: Natalie and I were over, and revenge would be mine. The following morning, the bruises from last night's confrontation painted my reflection with shades of purple and blue. The physical pain was sharp, but it paled in comparison to the sting of betrayal that gnawed at my insides. Natalie was still asleep, oblivious to the storm that raged within me as I watched her from the doorway. The sight of her, so serene and unaware, fueled my anger further. I showered and dressed in silence, my mind racing with the chaos of the night before. The image of that man, her other husband, his fists, and his revelations, replayed like a horror film I couldn't pause. As I buttoned my shirt, my hands trembled, not from fear, but from the cold resolve settling over me. When I returned to the bedroom, Natalie was stirring. Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled at me, a smile that once promised safety but now seemed a mask of deceit. "Good morning," she murmured, stretching her arms towards me. I didn't move to embrace her. Instead, I stood rooted at the foot of the bed, my voice steady. We need to talk. Her smile faltered, her brow creasing slightly. Is everything okay? You seem off. Last night, after dinner, a man attacked me. He claimed he was your husband. The words hung heavy between us. Her face drained of color, the sheets around her suddenly a shroud. What are you talking about? She stammered, but her eyes, wide with fear, betrayed her. Don't lie to me, Natalie. My voice rose, a crescendo of hurt and accusation. He knew things, personal things. How long has this been going on? Natalie pulled the sheets closer, as if shielding herself from the truth. It's not what you think. I can explain. Explain? How do you explain being married to two men, Natalie? How long were you planning to keep this up? She sobbed, her body shaking. I was going to tell you, I swear. It got complicated. Complicated doesn't begin to cover it. I paced the room, my mind a whirlwind. What about us? Was everything a lie? No, not everything. I love you, I really do. It's just, her voice broke off as she struggled to compose herself. I don't need excuses. I need the truth, all of it. I demanded, pausing by the window, trying to cool the heat of my rage. She hesitated, then began, we were having problems, and I met you. You made me feel alive again. I was going to leave him, I just needed time to figure out how. By deceiving both of us? By playing with our lives? My disbelief echoed in the now claustrophobic room. The air was thick with her guilt and my disillusionment as she tried to bridge the gap between us with more explanations, but each word she spoke only served to sever what trust remained. I want a divorce, I stated flatly, the decision crystallizing with surprising clarity amidst the turmoil. Natalie's face crumpled completely then, her voice a whisper. Please, don't do this. We can go to therapy, work this out. No. My refusal was final, cutting through her pleas. I can't be with someone I don't trust. I'll be contacting a lawyer today. As I turned to leave, she called out, my name a plea on her lips, but I didn't look back. The fracture was too deep, the deception too vast. There would be no mending of this bond. The next steps were clear, a legal separation and retribution. Natalie had made her choice long ago, and now, so had I. The day was overcast, matching the turmoil inside me as I made my way to the lawyer's office. Each step felt heavy, laden with the weight of the life I was about to dismantle. The office building loomed large and imposing, its stark lines a reflection of the legal battles to come. Inside, the reception was clinical, with sharp, modern decor that did nothing to ease the cold dread settling in my stomach. I was ushered into a sleek conference room where I met my lawyer, Helen Baxter, a woman known for her ruthless efficiency in matrimonial cases. Mr. Anderson, I've reviewed the preliminary details you provided, Helen began, her tone businesslike as she arranged her papers. This is a unique case, given the deception involved. We can pursue several strategies depending on how aggressively you want to handle the proceedings. I want everything exposed, I said, my voice hard, the hurt fueling my desire for retribution. She's been living a double life, and I want any financial duplicity uncovered. Helen nodded, jotting down notes. We can start with a forensic accountant. If your wife has been funneling funds or hiding assets, we'll find out. We should also consider a private investigator to gather more information about her other relationships and any other possible deceit. Whatever it takes, I affirmed, feeling a grim satisfaction at the prospect of turning the tables. I don't just want a divorce. I want her to face the consequences of her actions. The meeting continued with more tactical discussions, each step unfolding like a chess game where I was now a player, not a pawn. As we wrapped up, Helen's assurance was cold comfort. You're in good hands. We'll make sure she doesn't get away with this. As I left the office, my phone buzzed, a text from Natalie. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the message, her plea stark against the glowing screen. I typed a reply, my fingers steady. There's nothing left to say. And with that, I blocked her number, a symbolic gesture sealing the end of our chapter. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings and revelations. The private investigator I'd hired was thorough, uncovering not just the extent of Natalie's duplicity but also other secrets she had kept buried. Each new discovery was a stab, yet each also steeled my resolve. One late afternoon, as I was going over some documents, Helen called. "We've hit something big," she said, her voice tinged with both shock and a hint of satisfaction. "It seems Natalie has been involved in more than just marital deceit. We've uncovered significant financial irregularities linked to her work. This could get criminal." My heart pounded at this new development. "What kind of irregularities?" "Embezzlement," Helen replied succinctly. "Seems she's been siphoning funds from her employer." With her already questionable moral compass, this doesn't come as a complete surprise, but it does give us substantial leverage. The game had changed, no longer just a heartbroken husband seeking divorce, but now possibly a whistleblower in a larger crime. "What's our next move?" I asked, the gravity of the situation dawning on me. "We present our findings to her. Offer her a chance to settle quietly, or we go public with everything. It's her choice." The thought of confronting Natalie again churned my insides, but this time I was armed with the truth and the law. I wasn't just a betrayed husband, I was an avenger, righting wrongs and exposing lies. "Set up the meeting," I instructed, a cold resolve fortifying my voice. It's time she faced the reality of her choices. As I hung up, I felt the weight of the approaching confrontation. The skies outside mirrored the storm inside me, clouds dark and ready to burst. Natalie's world was about to be shattered, much like she had shattered mine. The difference was, I was now the storm bringer, and I was ready for the storm. The final meeting was set in a nondescript conference room, a neutral ground that belied the storm of revelations about to unfold. The grey walls, void of any decorations, matched the grim atmosphere as I waited for Natalie to arrive. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with an unyielding resolve to finalize our severance. Natalie walked in, her face pale, her eyes wary. She was accompanied by her own lawyer, a man whose expression was unreadable. As they took their seats across from us, the air thickened with tension. Helen started, her voice crisp and professional. "We've uncovered serious financial discrepancies linked to your employment, Natalie. This, coupled with the personal deceit we've already discussed, forms the basis of our claims against you." Natalie's lawyer whispered something to her, his words a hushed murmur. She nodded slightly, then looked up, her gaze meeting mine. There was a flash of something, fear, perhaps, or regret, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "I've made mistakes," Natalie said, her voice a blend of resignation and defiance. "But I am willing to settle." "We're past settling," I interjected, my voice cold. "I want full disclosure and restitution. And after today, I want nothing to do with you ever again." Her lips trembled, a crack in her composed facade. "You're being too harsh. Can't we part amicably?" "Amicably?" I scoffed. "You lied, you cheated, and you stole. There's no amicability in betrayal." As Helen laid out the terms, Natalie's face grew paler. We had her cornered with enough evidence to lead to criminal charges. She could agree to our terms or face public and legal repercussions. Finally, she signed the papers, her hand shaking as she relinquished much of what she had deceitfully acquired. It was more than just a divorce, it was a stripping away of her double life. As they stood to leave, Natalie paused by the door, turning back to me. "I never meant for any of this to happen," she whispered. "You chose your path," I replied, my voice devoid of sympathy. "Now live with the consequences." After they left, I felt a hollow victory. There was no joy in this win, just the bitter aftertaste of revenge. Weeks passed, and the silence of my now solitary life was a stark contrast to the turmoil of the past months. The revenge I had exacted had left me isolated, a Pyrrhic victory that ate away at me each day. One evening, as I sat in my living room, the emptiness of the house echoed the emptiness in my heart. The doorbell rang, an unexpected sound that seemed as distant as a memory. I opened the door to find a police officer, his hat held in his hands, his expression somber. "Mr. Anderson," he asked, and I nodded. "There's been an incident," he started, and the world around me slowed, the air thinning as his words sank in. "It's about Natalie. There was a car accident. She didn't make it." The room spun, and I grasped the door frame for support. Natalie was gone, truly gone. The finality of it was more brutal than any revenge I had imagined. In the weeks that followed, the truth of my actions settled in like a cold fog. The revenge I had sought had not only broken her, but had spiraled beyond my darkest intentions. Now, with her death, the full weight of our shared destruction lay solely with me. The victory I had thought to achieve through vengeance seemed hollow, a tragic echo of the love and life we had once planned together. In the end, the deceit and the revenge it birthed had led us here, to a tragic conclusion where the past could never be undone, and the future was a landscape of remorse and loss. The price of betrayal was steep, and the cost of revenge, it turned out, was even higher.